Ladies and gents, Nuno Santo has been confirmed as Forest manager, taken over from Steve Cooper after he departed ways yesterday with the club. And I thought, what better way to get the inside track on our new manager than speak to our beloved friend Dave from Always Wolves. Dave, how are you, mate?
Yeah, good, mate. Not too bad. Another day closer to
Another dollar.
Christmas and everything. Yeah, and my birthday,
Is it your birthday?
23rd. So they moved the fixture, didn't they, from the 23rd to Christmas Eve for me? How nice was that?
Chat, make sure you go to Dave's channel, Always Wolves. The link is in the title, and send him some birthday wishes because they were, 23.
Yeah, just a little bit of 21 again, ain't it, mate? That's what we're all 21 again every year.
Yeah. Chat, no jokes about me. I've told them I'm 22. But Dave, it's been a whirlwind of 24 hours for Forest. We spoke, it's like a week or two ago, and we were talking about Lopetegui at the time.
Well, I did tell you, I didn't see Lopetegui, but I did message you yesterday, as you quite rightly, I was right when I rang to told you that I'd had a chat with someone who was very friendly with that knows Nuno, and he'd rang to say he was on the way to Forest and it was imminent. And they've obviously then sacked Cooper, which I'm sure a few Forest fans will probably be very sad about, and I can relate to that because that's kind of how we were with Nuno. And then obviously they've announced this morning, first thing, the appointment of Nuno Espírito Santo as Wolves head coach with down at the City Ground.
Yeah, because why I really want to do this is when we spoke about Lopetegui, you were very, not anti him, but you were quite blunt and straightforward about what he did at Wolves and how you didn't feel he worked out, etc. But on Nuno, I feel that you got a completely different stance on him. And I think it's quite interesting because the initial reaction I feel from the Forest fan base is almost not a negative one, but an apprehensive one. And honestly, I think it could have been anyone coming in after Cooper, and it could have got Pep in, and
absolutely right. I mean, the thing is, it's like anyone going in at Man United after Alex Ferguson, or anyone coming into Forest after Brian Clough. You've got massive, big shoes to fill. Cooper's not on the level of Brian Clough, obviously. He's a legendary figure at Forest for what he achieved. But Cooper, you have to give him credit where credit. He took Forest by the bootlaces when they were dead on their feet and turned a team that had nothing really into a team that had fight, passion, was attacking, surged up the table and then got them into the Premier League, dealt with all the loanees going out, bought in 30-odd players and managed to somehow mould a team to get them to safety. In the end, reasonably well. Last season, it was a difficult job because it was basically a new team he had to build and mould, and he did that. And obviously, you had a great run in the League Cup as well, the Carabao as well. So that was great and exciting for Forest. Yeah, let's not go there. We won't talk about the penalty that we should have had, shall we, with the boot coming off. Let's move on. Yeah, I mean, he did really well. And obviously, this season again, I think most Forest fans and most fans of the other clubs would think, well, okay, he's established a core base of a team now. This year, you shouldn't be having those sort of issues that everyone would have accepted last year with all the problems that he got to mould the team. And you probably have that expectation to push on again. Now, obviously, it hasn't really happened. Forest have been in free fall. Obviously, you got that point where he literally Wolves managed to keep him in the job for another week, where he got the point. He literally came for a point. He got the point.
You were poor, Dave. You were poor that day.
We should have changed our formation, in my opinion, that day to a back four and put an extra man in midfield because you were literally sitting, hoping to get us on the break.
I told you we would.
And you did, and you got your point when we're not very good at breaking teams down. We needed an extra man in midfield, and that was a frustration. But hey, and it's come to the point where obviously they've made a decision. Now I can kind of understand the feeling that a section of the Forest fan base will have regarding Cooper for what he's achieved and what he's done for your club is no short of fantastic. What he did do. But in football, you cannot have sentimentality, which is one of these things. you could stick with Cooper, and he might. I mean, it was a similar situation with Wolves with Mick McCarthy a few years ago. We lost 5-1 to the Baggies. We then went successfully. They sacked him. We didn't have a replacement. It took ages. We went down to League One, and it took us a while to come back. And had they have stuck with Mick McCarthy that year, Wolves, we probably would have ended up staying up. But we didn't. And there's probably a few Forest fans out there that think we need to stick by Cooper for everything that we've done with him, and he'll keep us up. And he may well have done, but it's a gamble of the dice. They've appointed, obviously, they're talking about Lopetegui. I told you my thoughts about him. A great manager. He would have kept you up. I couldn't see him coming. And also, I lost a bit of respect for the way he was going, off on his own. Nuno Espírito Santo is an honourable man. This guy is an honourable man. He'll never do anything like that. He's a strong character. He's a disciplinarian in the dressing room.
Yeah.
From what I hear, when he walks into a dressing room, the place goes quiet. He's got he's like a messiah. He's almost the closest that we have to a Brian Clough at Wolves.
Wow.
Let's put things into context. Fosun came in. They tried a couple of managers. They brought in Nuno. We never heard of him. He was a goalkeeper. He sat on the bench a lot. He studied the game a lot. And he came in, and I remember the first game that we played in pre-season against Leicester, a really good Leicester team, and we literally played them off the park in pre-season. We're like, what is this football that we're watching? And that season, we ran away with the championship, by a million miles, almost like what Burnley did last year. But the difference is Wolves invested, obviously, in the likes of Ruben Neves and stuff like that. They backed it up the following year. He took us to 2 7th-place finishes in the Premier League, with he likes a small, tight squad. Nuno does. He doesn't like big squads, so expect a clear out that's going to happen at some point. He likes a squad of about 18 players. Now, when we had Nuno, our injury problems were like we hardly ever had any injuries. He brings in his own medical team and his team, and they monitor the players. And for 2 years, we never had any real serious injuries. How they did stuff medically was incredible, really. And he'll bring that. I'm sure he's got people he'll bring in with him. And Wolves were then on the second year dealing with not only the Premier League, but also battling on another front with the Europa League.
Yeah.
And we're having brilliant away days. I mean, Forest
was that still with the small squad, even though you had your
small squad, the following year. And we had some brilliant results away. Going to Turin against Torino. Besiktas, Braga. Olympiacos, which we couldn't go to because COVID hit. And then we played Sevilla, who are basically perennial winners of the Europa League, in the quarterfinals. And to be fair, that was Lopetegui's Sevilla, funnily enough, and they literally played us off the park, and they eventually won the game. I think in the 86th minute, 1-0 from a header. But Raul Jimenez had a penalty in the first half. He never missed a penalty. He missed. And under Nuno's Wolves, we never lost when we took the lead. I hardly ever lost. I mean, we got in front, we hardly ever lost. And that's why he had such a good record. Then what happened? COVID came in. Nuno, he's a family man. His family's over in Portugal. I think it had a toll on him. Mentally being stuck in the UK, not being able to, really see most of his family for a long period. We had a bit of a blippy year. I think I don't know whether that was the year we came. I think might have finished 13th in the end. Bearing in mind it was the longest season. We started in July the previous year, and then we ended up finishing in June because of the stuff. So it was a long season, and then the following year we'd hardly had any break, and it took its toll. But he still got us to safety, a 10th and 13th place finish. And the only reason that Wolves, that Nuno left, he never walked. He didn't go to leave Tottenham. That wasn't what happened. Jeff Shee sacked him. He was sacked. And from my understanding and the sources that I have, he was sacked because there was he will bump with the owners. He will what he wants. He will work with them, but after 4 years, he wanted to go take Wolves to the next level. He wanted investment. COVID had happened. The board, for whatever one, didn't want to spend as much, and I think there was a little bit of angriness between the club hierarchy and Nuno, and he can be very shirty at times with that, and he did have a little bit of a reputation, but he is a thingy. But eventually, Jeff Shea, I think, took the decision to sack him.
Was that at the end of the season, Dave?
Mate, it was towards the end of the season. It was announced that he was going. At the end of the season, we played Man United the last home game of the season, and I can tell you now, it was like a massive shock. We couldn't believe, because we were thinking next season, fans are going to be back in the stadium properly. All of this, it'll kick on again, and it was like a bereavement at the time for so many Wolves fans. It was so like shock. We couldn't believe it. It was like, this is Nuno. He was like a messiah character. He had a reverence about him. He embraced the city. He gave £250,000 of his own money to help disadvantaged people, and I think to the foundation and stuff like that. Of his own money, he gave to the city. That's the type of character he is. He fell in love with Wolverhampton. He stayed there for a thing. I don't know if he's still got a home there or what have you. And when he left Wolves, he said, "This is not goodbye. It's farewell. This is like unfinished business." When we were having the problems with Bruno Lage last year, because they bought Bruno Lage and that all went wrong, there was links with Nuno coming back from Saudi then, but there was they'd patched up the differences between him and Shea, but the Saudis wanted millions to get him out of contract. Then we were with Bill. We ended up with Lopetegui. Lopetegui did a great job keeping us up. Again, we got to the summer thinking, well, we're going to kick on, and then he leaves for all the circumstances that I've talked about. And now we've got obviously Gary ONeal, who's done a reasonable job, but he's still at short notice, and there's still a long way to go. But Nuno Espírito Santo, I have a lot of sadness in my heart today, because majority of the Wolves fans love and respect him, and I have a lot of joy because we wish him all the best, and I think he'll do really well. And don't forget, he won the Saudi League with Al Ittihad last year as well, so he can manage players. And for any Forest fans that are like, I can get why you've lost Steve Cooper. You've got a really honourable person in Nuno Espírito Santo. You listen to him talk, the way he talks, the way he puts himself across, and the way he will bring the fans together and stuff like that. Now, it didn't work out for him at Tottenham, granted, but he went into Tottenham. He couldn't really. They offered him the job. I think it was about 7th choice. He was on a hiding to nothing at Tottenham.
Yeah.
But let me just give you the win ratios that he has got for you, which is a nice stat that you might want. His win ratio at Wolves was 47.74%. His win ratio at Tottenham was 47.06%. His win ratio at Al Ittihad, it's a different league, was 64.29%. His average points per game at Al Ittihad was 2.26. As Tottenham manager, it was 1.65, and as Wolves manager, it was 1.6. And don't forget, he also managed FC Porto. They were 1.96, and Valencia
as well, isn't it?
1.81. So if you get that sort of return, you're going to be fine, aren't you?
Europe incoming, mate. You're getting me excited.
I'm just saying, I get why the big not Forest fans upset. I get that completely.
I think
like that, but
I think it's really interesting because, like, part of the issue that when you look at social media and what the Forest fan base is saying about Cooper is he got the city, he gets Nottingham, etc. And I've seen a lot of posts that they're like, Nuno's just going to come in, even if he wins, gets us stuff, whatever, he's not going to have that connection. But we haven't spoken, and everything you've just said there is very reflective of the kind of mannerisms that Cooper had in terms of embracing the city and looking at that. So I think that's a really good sign. The other thing I want to ask you about, Dave, and this is, again, I've been seeing a lot of, now I don't agree with this because I've watched a lot of Wolves, Nunes, and when his time at Spurs, it's about his style of play. A lot of people have been messaging saying, well, you know, you said you didn't like Cooper's football because it was negative low block. You've just replaced negative low block with a Welshman to negative low block with a Portuguese man. What would you say to that in terms
Mate,
of the
see,
style?
I said at the start, right at the beginning, like when we watched Wolves play Leicester in pre-season, I couldn't believe it. It was
Mm,
like we were Nuno. Our song we used to sing was five at the back, pacing attack. So he likes to play with a back three in defence. He likes to have wing backs bombing forward, and they drop and when they're defending and stuff like that.
like this.
He does, you know, the one drops, the other goes and
Yeah.
stuff like that. He likes the overlaps. He will get a team that will look to be direct and break. I mean, when we had Jimenez in the middle and we had Traore and
Yeah.
Jota, you
Yeah.
know, the pace that we had, crosses in the box and stuff like that. You'll get crosses and stuff like that. Now, it did get a bit negative towards the end of his reign.
Mm,
Don't forget, we you know, Jota had gone and there's pandemic, and it did get a little bit negative. And some of the Wolves fans at that point were getting a bit fed up of like it started to become a little bit not as exciting it was the first couple of years. But like when he first came in, the first 2 or 3 years, I think there was a lot of exciting football. You know, we were on the edge of our seats sometimes. We were enjoying life. We could beat anyone. We could
yeah.
anyone. We never felt we would lose. We you know, we got in front. We thought, well, we're going to win or draw. You know, we had that belief. And I think COVID changed a lot of things for Wolves. I think if that had not come down, we may have well have kicked on
Mm,
again. But things changed for all clubs during COVID. And
yeah.
as I say, Nuno was, you know, he was away from his family, and I think that might have affected him mental health wise as well. In how, because you know, you want to see family, and he's working away and stuff. I mean, we don't know, but all I will say is you got to give the guy a chance, listen to what he has to say, um, and he will. The one thing that you will get from Nuno, he will give everything to achieve the best for Forest.
So does he kind of focus when he first comes in on solidifying the back? Does he kind of work back to front, if you know what I mean, in terms of
Well,
getting things in
I mean,
place? Or is he,
when you're coming into a team that's, shall I say, in free fall at the moment, um, you know, he's got. I think he's taking his first training session today, isn't he? The
yeah.
first thing you want to do is make sure that you're not leaking stupid goals, and he's going to obviously take him a while to have a look at the players that he wants. Yeah, I guess he will do, but he'll also want to try and score. You know, try and score goals. He'll want to try and get in front. And you know, the only two times I was really disappointed with Nuno, in terms of, you know, every manager makes mistakes. The FA Cup semi-final, we're
Mm.
2-0 up against Watford. We're going to go to an. I mean, you forget that he took us to an FA Cup semi-final as well.
That was your
And
first
we're
one in
2-0 up.
ages.
We
Yeah.
were 2-0 up with 11 minutes to go. He takes Neves off and Moutinho, and we sat. And they got us with a freak goal that 9 times out of 10 would have gone over the bar, or it went in right into the pocket, into the corner. And then we concede the bloody stupid penalty in the last minute. And then we lose 3-2, don't we? And I felt that if he'd have kept us on the front foot, that would
Mm.
not have happened. We'd have got to the final. And then obviously Watford got battered 6-0 by City. We'd have certainly given them a better game. I mean, we beat City in the Asia Trophy in pre-season. So, you know, we get to finals. We generally do okay. But I think he took him. I think in his own heart he regrets what he did that day. And then the following year in the FA Cup, we made a lot of changes against Southampton when we could. They went on to the semis, I think, and we lost to them. And then we beat them the following week in the Premier League, and a couple of decisions like that. But generally, you know, he's a man manager. He's the sort of manager that will give a player a kick up the backside if they step out of line. They'll be out
We
literally.
need that.
Douglas was a wing back for Wolves. I can't remember his first number. He went to Leeds in the end, I think. he was late or something for training and had a bit of an attitude, he was gone. But he's also the sort of manager who'll put an arm around the shoulder of a player. If someone needs an arm around the shoulder, he'll do that. If they need a kick up the back of the side, he'll do that. But he will demand respect. But he doesn't get too close, if you know what I mean.
That's good. That's good. We need that. I felt for me that Cooper was too pally with a lot of the Forest players, like a friend, like a father at times. And I think you do need that dividing line between them. Let me ask you about two players, Willie Bolly and Morgan GibbsWhite. Obviously, they would have experienced the Nuno regime. How was it for both of them, and what
good
do you
question. Really good question. Willie Bolly, I mean, Willie Bolly is a character. He doesn't say a lot, but what he does, he's funny. Nuno will love having Willie Bolly. Willie Bolly will love having Nuno. They were like, great. So that's positive for Willie Bolly. Morgan, I'm not so sure. Now, I've talked about Morgan GibbsWhite. I mean, he's had some stick from the Wolves fans. He made a few mistakes. He's a young lad growing up, learning. When you're young, you do dick things from time to time. And he was with Wolves Academy for a very long time. And I feel it's very sad the way it's gone for Morgan at Wolves, to be honest. But I don't know exactly whether it'll be quite the same for Morgan coming in. Now, the one thing I will say that Morgan is a very forward-thinking player. He's got a lot of ability on the ball. He loves to pick a pass inside for the runners and stuff like that. He's a real talent. I think he's kind of like was player of the year last year. From what you've told me, he's kind of gone to his head a little bit this year.
He's doing my head in this year, mate. He's literally doing my head in.
Nuno will not stand for that.
Yeah, you know what? Everything you said to me when we spoke, a year and a half ago about him and Bolly was true. I hate to admit you were right. You said Bolly will be no problem. He'll come in, do a professional job. Morgan GibbsWhite, his head inflated over the summer, especially after the England campaign he had. He's not been the same player since he's come back. And I think part of it was that he was Cooper's boy. Like,
definitely from the under-17s for when he managed.
And I think he started to feel that Forest is his club, his team, etc. And that's why I'm interested in what you're saying about Nuno. We'll bring him down a peg or two.
I think Nuno will give him a blank slate. The one thing I will say, I'll say Morgan was a young lad. When you're young, you're immature and stuff. You grow up. I mean, he's got a baby now. He's got a settled relationship. Yeah, I do think he can sometimes, get like what you're saying. If he can keep a level and if he can just keep that level in terms of like where he is, then he's got the potential to go all the way for the England. He's got so much ability, but it's sometimes the players with the most ability are the players that go off the rail. There's so many documented cases throughout history of super talented players. I mean, is he going to turn into a Gaza, or is he going to turn into a Messi type of character? Because they're the people that put in the work. But if you go in like swanning off and not putting in the work, Nuno will insist on the work rate. They will be fit. They will, he'll probably bring in his medical staff that, they will get the optimum out to them. He won't play a player if there's any risk of injury and stuff like that. He will protect the players, because if you pick up a load of injuries, I mean, Nuno left and we had shed loads of injuries because it all changed.
That's interesting.
So, he will bring in a team with him. I would imagine if he brings in his usual team, then you've got to look further than Nuno. You've got to look down on who he brings in with him as well. So
that's what I was wondering, because I've been critical of our backroom staff. We've had Tate and we've had Reed and the other Reed as well, who are lovely guys, but came as Cooper did with no Premier League experience. So do you think Nunes has this unit that he wants to bring in with him and work with his guys, or will he allow Forest to dictate who his backroom staff?
I don't know. Is the honest? I think ideally Nuno would want to bring in without a shadow of a doubt, some of his closest associates, although some of them may have got work elsewhere, so it might not be quite the same. But if he can, he will. I think a lot of the time when managers come in, they've got trusted lieutenants that they want to bring in with them.
Because Dave, what I heard, part of the problem when he went to Spurs was that he went into the Spurs ecosystem, didn't bring his guys.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have told me, he suffered because of that as well.
Yeah, and I think so. I think if you go into any job in anything and you're a manager and you've come from a company or gone to somewhere else and you wanted to think you've got people you can trust and
Yeah.
who can be good advisors. So you want to bring them with you if you can, any walk of life. So I would say that it'd be interesting to see who comes with Nuno, and because if he's on his own, he's kind of then having to build relationships with what's there, and he's still out on his own a little bit. He'll want to bring people in. I think if he does that, that's a good. If they let him bring people in with him, that's a positive. If they don't, it might work out as a similar situation to Tottenham. Now his win ratio with Tottenham wasn't bad. It's just at the expectation level at Tottenham, as it was with a lot of managers. Conte followed him and stuff like that. Obviously, they've got big Ange in now, and they're all happy, the Tottenham fans. But like the expectation levels at a different level. He's coming in when he came into Wolves. The expectation level at Wolves was a bit like Cooper at Forest. Was like, we're a mid-table championship side. We've got new owners. They've got a bit of ambition. And then he took the bull by the horns and he changed us and he took us to where he did. Bit like what Cooper's done with Forest. And then when he leaves, it's a sad day because he's took you from obscurity, like what Wolves were, just sitting around in the championship, back into the big time, and you want to stay there. And the difference is that when Nuno went, it wasn't that we were really like we in any relegation. Put it like this: the last game of the season at Man United, he came on the coach into Wolves, and if you find it on YouTube somewhere, you look up my Man United Wolves vlog from that year. The coach came in, the streets were lined with fans. Wow. And a lot of the fans were singing, "We don't want you to go. We don't want you to go. We want you to stay." Now, there was some fans that thought it was time, and you can't look back. You can't be sentimental in football. You look forward. But that's the kind of reverence. Even now, Wolves fans look back and see things. Look what's happened since Nuno left. Look, we've gone backwards.
What do you think? Go on Mystic Meg on me here. We should expect this season as Forest fans in terms of league position, maybe wins, maybe a couple of away wins. Dare we dream?
We've just gone 14 games without winning in London. When Nuno was in charge, we never lost in London. We never lost. We beat Tottenham at Wembley twice. We beat them we never lost. We went something like 14 games without losing in London. You'll get away wins under Nuno. He'll get you set up to do that. I think he is. I didn't think you get Lopetegui, but I think if you get Lopetegui, he comes with a much higher demand salary wise, and he wants this, that, and the other, and everything going. If you don't get it, he was never going to go to Forest, and I said that. But Nuno will work with what he's got. He's coming in to a club that's with less expectations than like a Tottenham. So I think it's a good thing in some ways that the Forest fans are not necessarily on board with it. And I think they'll grow to love him over time. Now, time will tell. I think this is a real interesting one for Nuno's career on how it eventually pans out. But from a Wolves fan's perspective, from our view, we can only say positive things about Nuno. If you talk to a Tottenham fan, they'll probably tell you different. But they never fell in love with Nuno like what Wolves did. He had there's graffiti with him on the walls and stuff like that. There was, I think it'll do you good. And the other good thing for Nuno, he does love the Midlands. He loves Wolverhampton. He's got a lot of friends in Wolverhampton. He's going to be close. We'll probably see him in and around Wolves. I think he's still got a house in Wolverhampton. I don't know. And he has. It's kind of like Wolverhampton is kind of a spiritual home outside of Porto, and he does love the city, and he'll always have that affinity and love for Wolves. But he will. Obviously, when it comes to facing Wolves in the Premier League, he will set the team up to beat us without any shadow of a doubt. But you'll hear when he does the interviews, he'll probably talk about, how, he loved his time here.
Yeah.
And one day, who knows, he might be back at Wolves. You never know. And funny old world, isn't it, football? But the
You
fact that
want
he's
him, mate. I can see it in your eyes. I
I
can
think
see it in your eyes. You want
the
him.
fact that he's back in the Midlands, I think, and coming to Forest, I think that would be another attraction to Wolves, because he does like Midlands people,
Yeah.
and Forest fans and Wolves fans. We're all Midlanders, we call a spade, and he likes that type of person and
Good
like
fun.
people.
And
So
let's
I think he'll take to Nottingham. He'll like the people, and he'll embrace the fans. And one of the things that you'll probably hear him say in his press conference, I want to give you a team that you can be proud of. And I bet you he says it.
look like you're ready to tear up, mate. Do you want to swap here, Gary ONeal for Nuno?
We'll stick. Emma asked me that the other day. Would you stick or twist? There's a lot of Wolves fans that would take Nuno back in a heartbeat, but Gary ONeal, he's doing all right, and he's a young coach. He's learning, and I really want him to be a massive success, and I want Nuno to be a success for Forest, because at the end of the day, us Midland clubs, whether we have this little bit of banter from time to time and this mini rivalry and what have you, we want to play each other in the Premier League, because let's face it, we
Agreed.
ain't got that many Midland derbies, have we? So come on,
Exactly.
and if you go down, we will have less chats. So come on, it'll keep you up.
Exactly. Let me ask you one final question. I'm gonna make you put your neck on the line. What position did Forest finish?
Mate, I honestly don't know, but as long as you finish below us, I'm happy. You'll stay up. I don't know. I think he'll get you. I think in the end, I'm hoping that we can finish above 13th, where we finished last year. I'd like to try and see us, make the top 10 if we can. That would be amazing. It wouldn't surprise me if Nuno gets you to finish around about the 13th position in the end. Don't forget, he's coming in to a squad that's quite large, that isn't really his team, that he's got to learn a lot about the players. I think is also the perfect manager that you're going to have for the summer, because I've talked to you about this. I think Forest are going to have FFP issues in the summer, and that means he's going to have to cut the squad down. And you can't have a better manager that likes a small squad, that likes working with a squad. Nuno likes to feel that every player is involved. He likes to feel has got a chance of playing. When you've got a big squad, you can have a lot of players that have got the hump because they're not even close to even getting into the starting line on the bench. And that's an issue with having a big squad. And I think Forest have suffered, and Cooper's suffered a little bit from that as well. So he will trim it down over time. But I think that's a good thing for when you go into the summer. I think that'll be something that he'll look to do. And I think that's the situation that you might be in the summer, where you're going to have to be a lot more savvy. That you can't. I think Nuno will be good for you in that respect as well. But without a shadow of doubt, if I can't see Forest going down under Nuno, I just can't see it.
Dave will hold you to that. Forest fans, how do you feel now that you've heard what Dave said about Nuno? Do you think he's the kind of fit that we need? Honestly, Dave, I think he sounds like he could work. You got me very excited. Dave, we could talk for hours. We always do, mate. I want to thank you for your time, and chat. Show Dave some love. Look at the time he spent to give us this beautiful insight onto our new gaffer. Please make sure you go and subscribe to his channel. All you got to do is click the link. It's in the title. It's free to do. And make sure you show Dave some love at Always Wolves. Dave, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate. And go on.
Mate, thanks for asking me on. And, I'm just trying to speak from the heart and give a little bit of insight. And, it's always a pleasure coming on to Forest Fan TV. And I hope you do well under Nuno. I really, really do mean that. And I think you'll be okay.
You're the man, Dave. And chat. Oh, I said chat. We're not live it, but he's always honest. Look what he said at Lopetegui. If you want to see what Dave said about Lopetegui, I'll leave a link for that for our preview that we did against Wolves. So you have to believe what he's saying about Nuno. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe if you're new, and we'll see you on the next video. Come on, you Reds.